Join us as we dive into our obsession with true crime, history, and mysterious stories. Each Corrupted Clip episode is less than 30 minutes long, providing you with the perfect bite-sized content to get you through the day.
We assume no responsibility or liability for any errors or omissions in the content of this episode. The Corrupt Podcast is based on the facts and our opinions of the case. Listener discretion is advised.
Welcome to the Corrupt Podcast.
Phrogging, by definition, is the act of secretly living in another person's home without their knowledge or permission. The name comes from leapfrogging, from one pad to another. Different from squatting in an unoccupied building, phrogging is sharing the space that is already occupied. Add this to your list of worst nightmare situations, because phrogging is more popular than you may have thought. Before we get started, just a quick reminder on how you can support this podcast. We have 3 tiers on Patreon with different benefits, from a shout out to a free gift. You can also support us on PayPal, buy us a coffee or a glass of wine. Lord knows I need a glass of wine from some of this research.
Amen.
Both Patreon and PayPal links are in the episode notes.
Yeah, guys, Patreon is a great way to support us, and you get to become part of our Corrupt crew. We can give you a shout out on our next episode, and you can get exclusive content before anyone else does.
Check it out. We have over 40 behind the scenes and early access posts over on our Patreon. Phrogging actually happened to my family. After we started the podcast, my grandma just happened to drop into conversation that someone was phrogging in their attic in the 1960s. My grandparents rented a 5-bedroom house for themselves, 2 kids, and my grandpa's brother was also living with them at the time. No shared space, it was a house that was supposed to be just theirs. The landlord, Melvin, had lived in the house for years, but he and his wife had recently purchased a new home and moved. All bedrooms were located upstairs with a hallway, and the attic door was located in my dad's bedroom. Night after night, my grandma would see a shadow pass by their door. She would make my grandpa get up, check the kids, check the house. No one was there. This went on for months. There was never a sound, no stolen food, nothing ominous, just a shadow passing the bedroom doorway.
I mean, this is why people are afraid of the dark. These are why people claim to have ghosts in their house.
Yeah, and you're going to see that in a lot of the phrogging cases is that people go straight to the paranormal. Like, this house must be haunted. You've got some kind of poltergeist situation going on here.
I would believe it. I'd be like, something is living in that house.
For months? Absolutely. I'd be moving out. Yep. One evening, my grandma arrived home with just the 2 kids. This was just before dark. When she walked in the door, she heard a loud thump. She snatched both kids, ran to the neighbors, and called her husband. She knew for a fact someone was in that house with them, so they searched every room, eventually cornering a man in the attic. The man turned out to be their landlord, Melvin. He had gotten divorced from his wife and had nowhere to go, so for months he had been living in their rental attic. He had a bed and clothes up there with him. Melvin had been sneaking down the hallway every night past my grandparents' room, then into my dad's room to access the attic. Luckily, he meant no harm. Melvin just happened to work second shift, and he wanted a place to sleep. And since it was technically his house, he opted for the rental attic. He would creep out of the attic in the morning while the family was still asleep, stay out all day, go to work in the evening, and then sneak back in the attic to sleep.
That darn Melvin.
It was Melvin. My grandpa actually told me that he was really glad that Melvin's clothes was up there because he was able to identify him faster with the clothes, because it's kind of a dangerous situation. You find somebody living in your attic that's got access to your son's room. That could have gone wrong so quickly.
I mean, we will find out here in a bit why it could go wrong.
Very fast.
Although the term phrogging is fairly recent following a 2014 film, the concept has been around for decades. On December 6, 1986, Daniel LaPlante was discovered living in the walls of the Bowen family's home. Earlier in the year, 15-year-old Tina Bowen had gone on a date with Daniel. Daniel had shown up disheveled and dirty. Then he started asking Tina about her recently deceased mother.
Daniel had become obsessed with Tina, and unknown to the family, had moved into their home with them. He lived in the walls and the crawl space, even making tunnels and walkways in areas that were just 6 inches wide. He cut peepholes to watch Tina in her bedroom. For months, the family noticed weird occurrences. "Marry me" was written on Tina's bedroom wall in mayonnaise. There was banging on the walls, and milk that was full the prior evening was empty in the morning.
So I just want to make that clear to our audience. He wanted to marry the mayonnaise, not Tina.
Clearly. It was all about the mayo.
At 5:30 p.m. on December 6th, Tina, her father Frank, and her friend Kathleen arrived back at the Bowen house. They found the house was in a much different condition than they had left it. Every light was on, the radios were on and blaring, the bathroom had been used, and every TV was on. Frank searched the house and found Daniel hiding in a wardrobe and his face painted and wielded a hatchet and steel wrench. Daniel forced Frank, Tina, and Kathleen into a bedroom where he locked them in and disappeared in the house again.
Before Frank could object, Tina jumped from the second-floor bedroom window and ran to a neighbor's house for help. The police arrived, and Frank lowered Kathleen out of the window before jumping to safety himself. The house was searched, but Daniel had disappeared, leaving the wrench and hatchet in the yard. It would be 2 more days of Daniel living in the Bowen home before his tunnel system was discovered and he was arrested. Daniel was 16 years old at the time. After posting bail, Daniel would go on to murder a pregnant mother and her 5- and 7-year-old children. Daniel has remained in prison since 1988, serving 3 life sentences. It just was so very tragic because he posted bail and then he attacked just 3 complete random strangers. And the husband and dad comes home and finds basically his family dead. It's horrifying.
Going back to the mayonnaise here, it really stuck out to me because why would you choose mayonnaise of all condiments? Would you be able to see "Marry Me" in white on a wall? Maybe it was wallpaper, who knows? But I would choose ketchup.
I think ketchup has a menacing vibe to it, though. Like, that's got some red dripping. That's a little menacing.
Red is
mustard.
Love. A heart is red. Love.
Oh, no.
Equals marriage. What's
No.
wrong about this situation here, Paige?
If I come home and there's "Marry Me" on my bedroom wall and ketchup, that's going to look like dripping blood. Mustard is probably your golden ticket here because no matter what the wall color is, you can see the mustard.
I love mustard. I could eat that all day. Love mustard. So yes, mustard. I agree with you there. Why didn't he choose mustard? Like,
Mustard's king.
mayonnaise makes no sense.
Daniel LaPlante himself does not make sense.
He does not. In Christmas 2008, a Pennsylvania family would find an unwelcome visitor living in their duplex attic. Stacy and her 3 children noticed their brand new laptop, iPod, and cash was missing on Christmas Day. Stacy notified police on December 25th, then again the following day when she found footprints in her closet leading to the attic trapdoor. For the previous week, the family had been hearing sounds in the night. But with 4 people and 2 cats, the extra person living with them went mostly unnoticed.
21-year-old Stanley Carter had been staying with friends on the other side of the duplex. The friends told Stanley that it was time for him to leave, but then he suddenly disappeared on December 19th. A missing persons report was filed a few days before Christmas 2008. Stanley had entered the shared attic from one side of the duplex and exited into Stacy's apartment on the other side.
Police located Stanley and removed him from the attic. At the time, he was wearing Stacy's daughter's pants, her shirt, and shoes. Stanley also kept a list of the food and items he had taken from the house labeled Stanley's Christmas List. Stanley was charged with several counts of burglary, theft, receiving stolen property, and criminal trespass. Stanley's public defender, Basil Russin, said Stanley is
very sorry and upset it happened. He was very peaceful up there and kept to himself. He just kept to himself while living in someone else's house and stealing their laptop. Stanley does not appear to be in jail any longer, so he's out there, hopefully with his life together.
Let's hope.
No mayonnaise on walls. In 2012, Tracy, a North Carolina single mother of 5, discovered her ex-boyfriend had been living in her attic for a year. Tracy and the man had broken up 12 years earlier when he robbed a flower shop and went to prison. Years later, Tracy's house caught fire, and the man came to help her install new doors. Apparently, he decided to live in her attic and just never leave. As a nurse, Tracy was gone for 12 hours a day, which was perfect for her ex-boyfriend to creep around the house unknown.
This continued for a year. Then in September 2012, insulation fell from the ceiling, and Tracy heard strange sounds coming from the attic. At 2:30 a.m., nails fell from the ceiling, and Tracy said,
"There was some poltergeist stuff going on."
So she called her nephew. After entering the attic, the nephew saw the man sleeping inside the heating unit on a pile of coats. The man had been able to see Tracy through air vents in the ceiling straight into her bedroom. Without giving any explanation, the man left the attic and police were unable to locate him. It would appear that he walked away and was never charged.
The tale of the Denver Spider-Man is another case of phrogging turned murder. In 1941, 73-year-old Philip Peters met Theodore Coneys at the Denver Guitar Club. In September, Philip's wife Helen was in the hospital recovering from a broken hip. On a night that Philip was at the hospital, Theodore came to the house and asked for money. He found the house empty, so he helped himself to some food and then found access to the attic from a closet ceiling trapdoor. The attic was very narrow and was described as more of a cubbyhole. Theodore would live in the attic for approximately 5 weeks.
On October 17, 1941, Philip discovered Theodore in his kitchen. Theodore grabbed a cast iron shaker and beat Philip to death with it.
A cast iron stove shaker was a tool used to shake up the stove or wood burner contents and coals.
We're talking the 1940s, guys.
Yep, I had to look it up. It was something that I was not familiar with and not something we probably would use today.
Philip's body was discovered that evening, but police were stumped because there were no signs of forced entry or burglary. They noted the trapdoor in the investigation, but it was so small they didn't check it because no normal-sized person could fit.
Helen returned to the house with a friend or a housekeeper to assist her. This person soon quit because of strange sounds and a terrible smell in the house. Helen also moved into her son's house, so the house was vacant, but neighbors continued to complain of the smell. There were occasional sightings of a man in the house, but it was now common knowledge that the house was haunted.
In July 1942, the Denver police stationed 2 officers outside the house. The officers spotted a man in the home, but when they entered the dwelling, it was empty. They heard a noise upstairs and arrived in the closet just in time to see Theodore's feet heading through the trapdoor. The officers pulled Theodore back down to the closet. Once at the police station, Theodore spilled the beans about the murder and his 10 months of phrogging.
The officers were forced to check out the attic after Theodore's arrest, and what they found was horrifying. He had made a nest of sorts in the attic. He had collected his waste, but never bathed during those 10 months. The smell was so terrible that the officer vomited during the inspection. Detective Frank Zarno said,
"A man would have to be a spider to stand it long up there."
When the newspapers heard the detective's statement, they ran with it, and the Denver Spider-Man was born. Theodore was convicted of murder and served his life sentence in Colorado State Prison. He died in 1967 at 84 years old.
I'm not sure when the comics of Spider-Man came out, but I don't really like this reference because Spider-Man is a hero. Okay? He's a hero.
Yeah.
He's not no phrogging person who collects his waste.
I mean, at least he collected it.
Collected it. In what? A bucket? Ew.
I'm making an assumption it's a bucket. The smell was so bad the neighbors could smell it from outside. So it tells you how horrible it was.
Mm-mm.
And Theodore here is definitely the antagonist.
I would say so. The next case is featured as the first episode of Lifetime's Phrogging, Hider in My House. Newlyweds James, Brittany, and their 2 kids had moved into a new home in Hawaii in 2019. Over the next couple of months, strange events occurred. The doors were left open or unlocked. The computer and webcam would be turned on in the middle of the night. At one point, a blanket from the couch goes missing, but hours later, the family returned home and the blanket had reappeared.
It all came to a head in September 2019, when the family took a week vacation. They returned home to find James's bicycle lying in the front yard, and after opening the garage door, saw that the garage was trashed. Their belongings had been tossed all over the garage in the house. James went to the front door, but had a hard time opening the door because a man was standing on the other side, holding the door closed. This man, Ezekiel Zayas, had been living in the house and told James that it was his house now. James pulled Ezekiel into the yard, and Brittany called 911. The police arrested Ezekiel for burglary, but further inspection of the house showed this was much more than a burglary.
The room shared by the boys was the only clean room in the house. Their laundry had been done, toys were lined up, and the beds made. The rest of the house was destroyed. In Brittany and James's room, there was a laptop and knives laid out. Their own laptops had been used for what Ezekiel called the omnivore trials, a rehabilitation for rat-like people. He had been documenting the things he did, like unlocking doors, but also how the family responded. He knew personal information about the family, confirming the family's fear that he had been living with them for months.
Ezekiel had planned on operating on the family with plans for gender reassignment surgery and a hand transplant. He had ordered drugs and mixed them into his own concoctions. After being released on burglary charges, Ezekiel was arrested for vandalizing a Buddhist temple. Then in 2020, he killed another inmate in an unprovoked attack. Ezekiel is currently serving a 40-year sentence.
Gender reassignment surgery? Like, what? And a hand transplant.
Kind of random operations, if you think about it. I'm not sure where he came up with that, but he had extensive lists of things that he had done to the family already and things that he planned to do. It was terrifying.
Sounds like he wasn't right in the head. So,
nope.
Those things don't make sense. He don't make sense.
He sat down at Brittany's vanity in front of her webcam and actually put her makeup all over his face. You can find this video online. It's so creepy.
Like the actual video of him doing it?
Yeah. You can see him kind of like painting up or down his neck. And some of them, they blur out his face, but it's clearly out there on the internet where you can find the real video of him sitting there, no shirt on, you know, kind of like painting his face with her makeup. It's not like how you would apply makeup. He's extra wonky with it. I don't even know.
He's abusing it. He's abusing the makeup.
Yes, it was jacked up.
In 2013, Jennifer Lopez had a man living in her pool house for 6 days. The man gained access to her main residence when he pretended to be a relative and did some basic household chores. He even parked his car in front of the $10 million main house. The man posted photos of himself at the property and rants about his wife Jenny on Facebook.
When he was discovered by the security team, the man explained that he was JLo's ex-husband and that Jenny sent him gifts. JLo and her family were not home at the time. The man was charged with second-degree burglary, first-degree criminal contempt, fourth-degree stalking, and possession of burglary tools. The last case is on Dolly Osterreich and Otto Sandhuber. Walburga Dolly Osterreich was a wealthy German-American housewife living in Milwaukee in the 1920s. Her husband Fred was the owner of an apron manufacturing business. The marriage struggled after Fred and Dolly's only son Raymond died a month before his 10th birthday. 3 years later in 1913, Dolly met Otto while he was working at her husband's factory as a sewing machine repair technician.
Otto was just 17 years old and Dolly was 33 years old. One day in 1913, Dolly called Fred to let him know that her sewing machine was damaged. Fred sent Otto to the house to look at the machine. When Otto arrived at the house, Dolly opened the door wearing nothing but her stockings and a silk rope.
Otto and Dolly became lovers. It wasn't long before Fred discovered the affair, but instead of breaking it off like she said she would, Dolly secretly moved Otto into the attic. When Fred went to work, Otto would be let out of the attic to spend the day with Dolly. When Fred arrived home in the evening, Otto went back to the attic, which had a cot, bucket, and some books.
This routine continued for 5 years until 1918 when Fred decided to leave Milwaukee and move to Los Angeles. Dolly agreed to the move with one condition: the new house must have an attic. A house in Silver Lake was purchased and Otto moved in first, straight to the attic before Fred arrived. The affair continued until August 22, 1922, when Otto shot and killed Fred in the living room. Fred was shot once in the head and twice in the chest. His body was left in the chair while Dolly and Otto plotted to make it look like Fred had been attacked by an unknown intruder. Otto locked Dolly into a second-floor closet and she would tell investigators that someone had shoved her into the closet while she was hanging her coat up. Minimal items were taken from the home, and the investigators thought the story didn't ring true but couldn't figure out how Dolly was locked in the closet.
Dolly moved into a new house, also with an attic for Otto. She started to have affairs with other men, even asking one to dispose of the .25 caliber pistol involved in the murder. She gave another one of her lovers the watch that was supposedly stolen from Fred during the robbery and murder. Two of her lovers were also her attorneys.
Dolly was arrested for the murder in July 1923. She asked her attorney to purchase groceries for her empty home, and Otto's presence became known. Otto confessed to the murder, but stated that he was defending Dolly from an argument with Fred that he thought was going to turn physical. Dolly posted bail, and it would be 7 more years before the formal charges were filed. Dolly was charged with conspiracy to commit murder, and Otto was charged with manslaughter. The statute of limitations had expired for Otto, and he walked free. The jury was hung in Dolly's trial, and she also served no time.
Dolly did find love again. She spent 30 years with her second husband before dying in 1961 at 75 years old.
That's shitty, what she did. That Dolly.
And Fred lost his life.
Yeah, poor Fred.
Yeah, he paid the ultimate price for her sneaking around and keeping a guy in the attic.
There's a movie on Phrogging called I See You starring Helen Hunt that was released in 2019. There are also some really eerie TV episodes available on Phrogging. If you want to know more, I would highly recommend giving those a watch. I'm going to warn you, though, they are disturbing.
We would love for you to become part of the Corrupt crew. You can find us on Patreon with multiple tiers and PayPal. This will score you our appreciation, and we'll announce your name in a future episode. Both links are in the episode notes. Case suggestions and feedback can be emailed to us at corruptpod@gmail.com.
The sources for this episode would be listed in the episode notes. You can find us on Instagram, Facebook, and Threads. Don't forget to subscribe to catch our new Corrupt content. Please also leave us a review wherever you're listening to this episode. Bye!
Bye!